Hello and welcome to the next value, which is the value of influence. Now, my friend and mentor, John Maxwell, he has a particular quote about this, and it says, leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. Now, I'm also a leadership consultant, and I talk into that a lot. So, just to explain that very briefly, because people say, well, how do you get at influence? Well, we're going to talk about the value of influence and how you can become more influential as well. But here I always talk about it. It says you get more influence, more positive influence by building better relationships. But how do you build better relationships? Oh, well, by asking better questions for people, being interested rather than interesting. And then they say, but how do you ask better questions? It says by listening better. It's all about listening. See, you learn more by listening than by talking. And even as a leader, it's very important. So that's really where that comes from. And leadership around the world is absolutely failing because of a total lack of values. Now, it's been coming for a long time, but this last year and a half has become even more obvious, I would say. You only have to look around the world, and you might not have the same leaders in mind as I have, but leadership at the top is not leadership anymore. Most of them have got titles and positions, but they certainly don't have values, because where is your integrity, your transparency, your honesty, and all those kind of values that have fallen by the wayside maybe a long time ago, but you're clearly showing. Because, there is talk to talk, but there's certainly no walk to walk for a lot of people either. And we lose our patience with these leaders, and we lose our belief in those leaders. So it's about time we got some fresh leadership, or some time. It's time that they started to build up foundations back on solid values. Whether you consider yourself a leader or not, you are leading people every day. See, it might be in your school, it might be your football team, or any other organization within your school or outside of your school. It might be just leading a small group of friends. It might be leading your family, your community, your a department in your organization, an entire organization. It might be leading your country. But we're all leading. But leadership always starts with self-leadership. That's why personal development goes hand in hand with this. And this is personal development, because the values-based leadership process that we're taking these values from, my partner Artie and I are specialists in this. We've renamed it Sustainable Personal Development, because that's exactly what it is. And this will create leadership built on a solid foundation, because this is the solid foundation for leadership. And leaders will stand up and rise up from there. We see it already all over the world, and this is no exception. See, so influence is simply the capacity to have an effect on the words, the choices, the behaviors, the development, and the character of someone else. And influence is really the driving force that creates cooperation and productivity. See, negative influence, and when you have negative influence on the people, and then you're complaining they don't do any work, they should do much more. And we've just talked about the value of respect and all this kind of stuff, and the value of listening, and the value of connecting, and the value of restraint. You name it. You see all these values coming out that are not being practiced, and yet they expect their people to have high productivity, to be happy at work, and all this kind of stuff. But yet the opposite happens, and this process will bring an awful lot of that and more back to the table. That's why the process we have is called a round table process, where we sit around the table, and it's stunning. But I'll talk a lot more about that later. But it does not matter how young you are, or how old you are, what your title is. You can lead and influence other people, and you most likely are. See, we can learn and develop these skills to inspire and influence others, whether it's in our family, communities, I mentioned already, or just some teams. You know, in football, the captain, he must inspire his team. The coach must inspire the bigger team. But when the captain is on the field, he's the guy who should be driving by example, and inspire the team. And a team is so important, but we need to have positive influence with each other in the entire team. So then, when I talk about steps of being influential, and that is, if you want to gain more influence, the benefits are that you will have a choice and a chance to do something that makes a difference in this world. So you can make a difference where it needs to make a difference need to be made, when you can make a difference wherever you are, and that is regardless of position, title, or age, or gender, or race, or culture, you can make a difference. That's a benefit of having that influence. But you will naturally share what you are learning and feel the judgment and the fulfillment, because judgment will have left the building. So, and it's replaced by fulfillment, because you are developing other leaders around you now as well. So they might judge you on your productivity, on your behavior, because we as leaders, you need to walk the walk and talk the talk, not just talk. You know, when all said, I saw it said and done, quite often more is said than done, but here you need to have the both of them together. But these are the benefits, and the characteristic of somebody who is influential is that these people have a winning attitude. See, influential leaders want to win as a team. See, your influence doesn't mean that you're the one who takes all the credit, and when there's no credit to be given, everything goes wrong, that you blame everybody else. No. When there is credit, give others credit first. When there is problems, take them on you first as a leader. That's a real leader. But that's also showing the influence you will get, and you gain that because you become much more trustful and dependable and transparent. But these people look for opportunities to develop others. They want to share what they have learned so they can empower the people around them. I just put a LinkedIn article today on talking about your inner circle. That's also very interesting. Who are the people around you? How are you influencing them? Great questions. You need to ask them yourself. But there is steps to follow that you can become more influential. And there is, as I said, in all of them, there's about 5 or 6, but I'll give you 2. And this one is develop your character. That's the first one. Our ability to influence others is dependent first and foremost on who we are. See, if our character is not attractive to others, our ability to influence will be very limited. So we need to become more attractive with our character and who we are. See, develop your relationships is the second one. See, when you develop your relationships, if we build enough of the right kind of relationships, we can develop a great degree of influence in any team or organization. So that's the 2 points that you can already start to work on, develop your character and develop your relationships, because every one of us, they say that you've heard the quote, the biggest room in the world is the room for improvement, and we can all do better in everything. We're not perfect in anything, really. So that means that we can all do better. And some things we're really bad at that we might think, okay, we need to really do that, especially in values. And not every day is the same either. But the thing is, what action will you take today to become more influential? Not tomorrow, not next week. What will you do today to take some steps to become more influential? Will you develop your relationships? Will you develop your character? Or will you do anything else that you now realize that you can do to help become more influential, that you positively influence other people? When you do that and take those action steps, then I will see you tomorrow for yet another value. Take care.